Girl,
Hey everyone, hi Lamp.
it's time for lamb.
Lamps! Make me look
You
good,
know, it's
Lamp.
time for lamb. It's time for covered dish in a hotel.
Hi everyone, tell us we look pretty. Tell us we look good.
Oh, girl, my hair's still wet. I'm a mess.
We love
All
it.
over
What
here
kind of dew-kissed climate are you in this evening?
from in Ohio.
Oh my god. Well, I don't know how you got those beachy waves because we're certainly not getting them in Ohio.
Oh, girl,
Or
we're
maybe we
drinking wine.
are. Look at that. What do we think about this? What do we think
I'm
about this?
loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it's it's just coiffed.
It's literally all dry shampoo.
It's the asymmetrical shoulder lift for me. Like that's like,
Mm-hmm.
mm,
Like glamour
mm.
shot at the mall with the boa that goes down here.
I just wish we lived in a time where that was still a thing. I mean, I think we should still make it happen.
I mean, glamour shots by Deb. We could do it in our basement.
Oh my God, I'd love that.
Yeah.
Girl, I am drinking a California Pinot. I bought at the gift shop out of the bathroom cups in the hotel room, and that is where we are at tonight. How's that? What are you drinking?
There's nothing quite like a one of those bathroom glasses at the hotel
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
they're too small to be a water glass. They're too small to be a rocks glass.
Look at
They're
my hand, Doc. Like, just look at my hand.
yeah. There's just there's no purpose for that. I guess it's for gargling. I don't understand. I need
It's
someone to
just to
explain
put,
it to me.
it's to put a little bit of mouthwash in and use. I'm like, what is it? I don't know. Anyways, you drinking your brown water, your caffeine-free Diet Coke or whatever?
Caffeine free Coke Zero.
Oh,
I even matched it tonight.
I do like that. I do like that shirt. I like the ombre look.
Thanks.
I do really like that on you. You can always pull it off. Girl, it's been too long.
Guess where I
What?
got this shirt from?
Isha.
I mean, I can neither confirm nor deny. Loyal customer for a long time, but they did place my account on hold recently.
How are you doing?
I'm
What
not
happened?
not well. Not well.
Did you request too many pockets? That seems like
No.
something you do.
No. This is an actual consumer this is an actual customer problem and I'm embarrassed about it, but I want to be vulnerable for all of you because
Okay, yeah.
if you know me at all, you know that I love this company and I've bought
Yeah, you're obsessed.
many garments from it.
Garments.
They're like a made to order kind of thing, like slow fashion, like, um environmentally conscious kind of thing. They sent me a very nice email in which they informed me that my return rate was 50%. And I had no idea it was that high.
Okay.
So I felt horrible because I was like, oh my gosh, the overhead to then make a garment and then you send it back and then they pay for your shipping and then they have to put it
Right.
back in circulation somehow or resell it. So I was mortified. I was like, I'm so sorry.
Wait, so
I've been
they
a
put,
customer for a
but
long time. So I put an order in for a jacket and they were like, before we do this, we just want to check in and make sure that you haven't been having any like fit issues. Like what's really going on here? And this is the part where I was a little bit frustrated because they ask you what the reason is when you request a return, right? And
yeah.
so I'm like, you know me, girl. I'm neurotic and a teacher's pet, so I write 3 paragraphs.
You're like, the trussets didn't match the bustle like the photo.
This was advertised as a ruffle, and it's actually a flounce.
I was gonna say flounce because you taught me the difference between a ruffle and a flounce,
Mm-hmm.
which right now I really don't remember, but I think I
Yes.
got it. Like I could pass it.
What's this?
That's a flounce.
That's a ruffle.
Fuck.
It's gathered. If it's gathered, it's a ruffle. If it's not gathered at the seam, it's a flounce. Anyway, so you'd think with that encyclopedic knowledge of fashion and construction, they wouldn't put someone like that on hold, but they did. So they took it off hold. I sent a very nice apologetic email back, and I was like, please don't put my account on hold. This company's all I have.
Like, do you know I live in Ohio? Like, I'm going through a lot right now emotionally. So, like, please unfreeze my account.
I was literally like, the clothing from this company has like changed my personal sense of style, and
It
also
has.
it's like the little bit of joy that I have in this horrid world.
Did you
So
say that?
yes, no, I did not. I was
Oh my
gonna
God.
I was gonna lie and say that I did, but no, I didn't say that.
Remember when I drafted an email to return a piece of artisanal jewelry from a toxic ex? And there was like no returns because it was like it was actually a piece of art, and I
I
like
do
had to, like,
remember. I do remember.
and I had to make it about like the spirit. Like I was like, this isn't the spirit of the piece. Please take this back. Like I had to speak artist, and
Yeah,
I leveraged you actually for that.
me. How did
Yeah,
you?
remember we talked through it.
Oh
Like
yeah,
we
it's like
talked through
my
it.
friend Eileen. I thought you like.
Oh yeah, and I included your headshot and social security number.
Yeah,
Um. Oh my God, girl. Well, I'm really
and
look.
they took it back. They took it back, right?
I don't know.
Oh well, did you? But you got the money back.
Oh no, it wasn't mine. Money to get
Oh,
back.
you were
I
returning it
actually
on behalf of someone else because it was a gift. Right, right.
Yes, but I actually do think I got an email back. It was very like weird, but that's fine. Anyways, so
Anyway,
let's get back to you and your existential crisis now being
Yeah.
over, which I'm very excited about. We love to see it. Ishakti back on the short list of potential sponsors for Dish 2024.
back on the list.
Back on the list. It's a short list,
It is.
and it is an imaginary one that
Yeah.
will never come to fruition.
It's
which are my
Ishakti
favorite things.
and the Coca-Cola Corporation. Those are the two.
And Vienna sausages.
And Vienna sausages. That's a throwback. That is a callback. But
Get in the chat if you know what we're talking about. Vienna sausage, another good drag name.
Mhm.
It has to be taken.
Also,
Vienna sausage.
gird
has
your
to be
loins and go back and eat and watch episode 3.
Oh,
For,
but bring Dramamine.
yeah,
Oh,
foray
anyways.
into molded gelatin and drag names.
girl, we only have a half hour and we're 10 minutes in. What are we talking about?
I know, we're rambling. We're rambling. As is our want. Frankly,
As
you
is
know,
our one, and frankly, our constitutional right for now.
oh God, that's another rabbit hole. I was going to say, are you not entertained? This week we're talking about competition. And I would say the spirit of competition, like the internal, some might call it a compulsion, some might call it, you know, like a fun pastime, other people might call it a complex, like being competitive, you know,
Mhm.
individually, collectively, in a relationship. Like, I don't think I'm a competitive person, but there are particular things that I get really competitive about. How do you feel about competitiveness? Where does that sit with you, generally speaking?
You know, I grew up with two types of relatives. Relatives that enjoyed fun and like enjoyed competition in a fun way and could lose and like play another game of dominoes.
Yeah.
And then I had a few relatives, and I don't want to say on what side, my mom's side. And when they lost, it was a multi-hour meltdown. All little boys, young men, and
Yeah.
we all then had to shift our entire plans. Grown ass people
Yeah.
shifted their whole life for hours. And that really left competition with a very bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
And then I will also say I'm extremely competitive in fun ways, but like I can't even like be around a sore loser. Like I'm just disgusted with it. And I dated a few women who are sore losers, and I'm like gross because I'm just like it's such a waste,
Yeah.
especially for like games or something. It's just ugh. Anyways, how about you?
I don't know. I think so. I can get competitive with games, but for a very short period of time, and then I'm like,
Right.
this is really meaningless anyway. I think there's something kind of hardwired in my primate brain that's like,
Yeah.
I need to have more of, or you know, that drive to competition, that sort of like psychological satisfaction you get when you win or something. But it's like that's not what's important to me, you know, especially in my adult life. It's like being the best at something is not like, that doesn't give me a sense of fulfillment.
Right.
Being good at something does. I think it's different. I want to be good at something. I want to be dedicated and like put my all into it. And I think that's sort of like competing with myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
But-
no, 100%. I'm very hard on, me against me is It's a knockdown, drag out butt battle.
Yeah, yeah. A butt battle? Is that what you said?
No, but I could. I could go back in time. Change it in post. All
That's
right,
our
let
new
me get a
T-shirt.
little
Butt battle.
butt battle. Let me get a little controversial.
Okay. Let me get my Coke.
Coke Zero. It's caffeine free Coke Zero. Anyways, let me get my
Right.
Coke.
Let's not get too crazy.
Does that get too crazy? So, are you competitive in coupling? Like, hear me out. Like, social media is so dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's so dangerous to just see all these couples. And I was talking with someone, oh my God, like months ago now. And I do think calling yourself a power couple is a death knell. Like, you will get divorced.
Yes,
You will
totally.
Like,
it's a
if
sign
you
of
self-
the end times.
yeah, if you self-identify as a power couple, let me tell you something. You're not. Unless you are Barack and Michelle, you're
Yeah,
not. Like,
yeah.
I don't care. It's not a thing. Like,
Just don't.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
just don't. And like,
Mhm.
I'm not you. Like, we're kind of a power couple. Where? Anyways, but like in your head, which is fine. Like, live that dream. But like, I do think social media has kind of enhanced this, like, right, this competitiveness. And in your relationships, like, is that a thing where you're like, oh, like, we look cute, then we're gonna post, and it's gonna be like a thing? Do you know what I'm saying?
I do. I do know what you're saying, and I do have it, and I think it's based on envy with me. Um,
Say more about that.
it's unhealthy, but I think there is this feeling that's rooted in envy, this competitiveness that is like within me. That's like, I'm like, yeah, we're better than that couple. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
it's judgy. It is if I have this feeling that like they have it better off than my relationship, then I like sort of get competitive and my brain starts doing these, well, but how are we better than them? And it's all toxic and uncomfortable and unhealthy. But I think if I'm being honest and candid with you all on the internet, the answer is yes, I do have those feelings. And sometimes I really have to work to keep them in check because it really, like, nothing will sabotage your connections with other people and other relationships in your life than that drive to one up people. It's not good. But yeah, I have it.
I think back to the time I was in Dayton, Ohio. And I was at, I think, Toxic Brewing. If you've ever been there, it's a really cute little brewery. It's right on, what's that strip in Dayton that's safe?
It's honest advertising, right?
For gay people, and that's it. I forget the name of, what's that area? Oregon District. It's like the only 2 blocks in Dayton you can go to.
Oh, in Dayton, yeah.
It's not full of like terrible Catholics. So I was talking to this comedian, and as male comedians are wont to do, he was complaining about how no one wanted to date him. No woman wanted to date him, right? And at the time, because I have had a very successful series of relationships with just total smoke shows, I think. Real attractive people. I said something to him and I was like, hey, like, don't be so ridiculous. Like, women, you're cute, and like women aren't all obsessed with looks. And he was like, look who you're dating. Right. And he's like, look at he was actually like, look at your Instagram feed. Like, tell me this isn't a thing. Right. Because you're showing, you have this show off ability. Right. And it's this feeling of, and I was like, you know what? I actually really reflected on that. He was also like a butt munch, but like, I'm like, oh, I will remember this moment.
I also didn't like him, but he said
Right,
something
also, like,
very elucidating in that moment.
Oh, he said like really weird stuff, like about women that was like not great. And then I was like, oh, I'm cutting you out of my life. You are predatory. Cool. But I was like, no, yeah. I'm gonna cut you out. But like, I just think about that because I'm like, wow, like we don't necessarily think about it like that, but there's this inherent competition in that. Yeah. Right. And it's also very difficult because my partner is extremely attractive. So if there was a competition, we would not win. She would. Like, just to be clear, I lower her batting average, but I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Well, Brooke, when your position is so far above, you don't have to be competitive because, there's nothing you really have to worry about.
And then there's the ultimate power couple, us.
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely true. I will say this at the risk of it being like, a curse, but I actually think that we are the best power couple, Brooke.
You know why? Because we don't have sex.
Yeah,
And it saves a lot of time.
we don't even date each other. But
No,
we're the
no.
best power couple. And I
Except for
think
a
that
couple-
might not be a
except for that Home
coincidence.
Depot thing. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because you're constantly comparing, right? Like it's very difficult. But I
Yeah.
think like, okay, you ever like double date and you leave, and you're like, oh my God, at least we're not them. It's like, you know what I mean? And then you spend the whole night,
Yeah.
and actually all you're doing is talking about your own relationship, like challenges and where you hit,
Mhm.
but you're like reflecting it back from the other couple. And it's actually, I think the interesting part about that is like, whenever we hang out with couples, I'm always like, oh my God, like they did this. That's interesting. Would I do that? Would we do that? And like, we learn from it. So it's become less competitive as I've gotten older and more like, how do we like learn from this and be a little like insightful about it?
Mhm.
Because I'm like, oh, would you do that? And like, I'm like, oh no, I wouldn't. No, that wouldn't be a thing I could do, right? And you kind of
Give me an
process
example. What's one of the things that you would
like,
that you would or
You know,
wouldn't do?
like, I was out one time. This is a long time ago, and like they were like, oh yeah, like we invited in a third because of like our star chart, and we didn't really know them. And I was like, what a good example of something you talk about in a bar and you go home and you're like, would you do this? Like it's just like these like hypotheticals of what boundaries couples cross that you're like, would we? And like it's fun and it's good
Yeah.
because then it gives you these safe spaces to kind of talk through boundaries and things.
Yeah, that is good. Because you might not have considered that scenario together before.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, well, let's talk about it, you know? Like would we?
Do you want to go winter camping? Like, should we talk about it? You know?
When I think the answer should always be no. Would we bring a Gemini into our relationship? I don't know.
In this economy?
Yeah. Where can we find one this time of night?
You know, but I think like there is, you know, it's difficult. I've been thinking about like how to make sure I'm not comparing and getting competitive, right? Because it's so easy.
Yeah. Well, girl, I think both you and I, we are attracted to people of a gender presentation that we perceive to be different than ours. But there are people who date like a very similar, you know, that are not looking for some sort of difference, whatever that is. There are people that date a gender identity and or expression that are very close to theirs. And I've heard that this thing can happen that you can become envious and competitive with your partner because like who's the prettier one, who's the sexier one, who's the more this, who's the more that, and you exist on a like a more closely aligned spectrum, right? So the position on that is easier for you to see because you're both doing a similar thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like in my relationship, we don't have to wonder who the pretty one is.
It's true.
There's only one. I don't mean you and me. I mean like
that's actually our one flaw. Every power couple has a flaw, and ours is we're both stunners.
Yeah. What are we supposed to do?
It's our fatal flaw. It's our Achilles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's really interesting. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's this thing with gay men, right? That they like date people that look like them.
Yeah, I believe it was Lil Nas X that said in one of his songs, "I want the ones I envy."
Ooh.
Yeah, it's an interesting lyric.
So that's interesting. So when I think about hyper femme presenting women, because I'm femme, but I'm not hyper femme, right? So I don't present, I think, it completely at the end of the range.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not like, oh, I you know what I mean? I think that's really interesting because I don't envy that hyper femme presenting, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I could seeing, you know, I don't know. Oh, that's really interesting. I do love that when gay men are like, oh my God, you have to meet my new guy. He's so hot. And then you meet him and you're like, we going to talk about me?
Yeah.
We're not going
to. You mean they look very similar. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. They're like twins.
Yeah. Yes. This is an observed phenomenon in the gay community. I don't know.
Do you think it happens as much with like cis women as cis men? I feel like it's cis gay men that get the rap, but I don't know if
Well, I don't know. That is, the reputation is, yes, that it's cis gay men. I don't know if the same thing happens, because I don't, that's not true. I think that's just stereotypical. I was about to make the assertion that I don't see as many lesbian couples where oh my gosh, girl.
Femme, butch, masculine presenting.
Thank you. I don't see as many femme or butch presenting people in a relationship together that have the same expression. And I think that one is just because, I don't know as many of those couples, like, in a very close way. And B, I think that there's like a stereotype that is perpetuated by our culture.
Yes, 100%.
I don't have enough data.
Have I talked about my butch scarcity theory on the dish?
You've talked to me about it. I don't think you've talked about it on the dish.
Well, it's controversial. And it is not my theory. It is owned by another queer person in the Midwest. So if you don't like it, don't come at me. But the theory is that because of like the systems and the pressures we're in to present a certain way, that individuals who would be masculine presenting, who identify as women, there would be way more of them, right? Without the systemic oppression and levels of marginalization. So if you are a Black woman and you come out as queer and you want to present as masculine, you will still, because of societal pressures and marginalization, intersectionality, and everything, you may taper it, or you may not, or whatever. And it's about how, anyway, so this femme, queer woman, has this theory that like there's not enough butches to go around because of oppression and marginalization, which is why, in her estimation, don't get mad at me, don't at me, in her estimation, sometimes femmes put up with bullshit that they shouldn't, because they're like, there's only 3 butches here.
I think that's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thought experiment. Like,
it is, and it's unprovable.
Yeah, I mean, I watch.
Unless you live in Columbus, Ohio, because there's like 5.
Yeah, well, and that those things are regional also. I watch this one guy who does street interviews on TikTok, and he is a white, gay, cis guy. And one of the questions he asked was, do you think that there are, what do you think the number of bottoms is relative to the number of tops in our area? And I think it was like LA. And what was interesting is, and then you would ask people how they identified. And there was in this one like series of videos, there was a correlation, which is not statistical. There was a correlation between people who identified a certain way and then perceived a deficit of the opposite that they were attracted to. And then there were like,
that makes sense.
Yeah, and then there were like verse people that it was just kind of all over the place. Like some of them said, I think there's less this, I think there's less that, they're even whatever. But and it was kind of all over the place, but there was a noticeable correlation that if you were like one sexual role and you were interested in the other sexual role, then you would think there weren't enough of the objects of your desire. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I think like that's really interesting. And I'm like, also from like the marginalization and oppression that exists regionally and even like state-wise, right? Like how does that prevent? Because there's this image, right, that queer and trans people and non-binary people just like fly over country and go to the cities. And it's like, trans and queer people can be poor, right? And like stay wherever they are. Like, do you understand?
And they should be able to.
Right. And like, whatever, but like, you're like, oh no, they're only in, LA and New York, you know what I mean? So it's also like, I don't know, the stereotypes kind of perpetuate the problem of like people not knowing. Like
I love when people make that observation too, because it's like, well, yeah, I mean, some people do tend to flee areas where they feel like they're in danger. So
exactly. And some people like choose to stay. Like, oh my God, a couple months ago, I was in a really small town and there was like so many trans folks and they're like, we love it here and we love outdoors and hiking and things. We're not fucking leaving because of whatever. Like, we're staying. And I'm like, you are braver than me. I'm like, I don't know if I can do that, right?
Yeah, same.
Like, trans people may not leave, trans people may not choose to leave, but it's just this, they may not be able to leave. But I think like that, It's like a self-selecting thing. Anyways, I still stand by Butch Scarcity, but if you don't like the theory, it's not mine.
I'm going to commit to it, but also if you don't like it, you didn't hear it from me.
Girl, we got 2 more minutes. Closing thoughts, competition. You're up.
I guess just ask yourself why. Why is it so important? If you feel those feelings are human, right? And we all are competitive and we form our little social hierarchies and hegemonies. But just like why? Why is it so important? You know, like I think it's worth investigating what's really important to you. That sounds like such a boring answer, but that's where I'm landing with it.
A little root cause analysis.
Ooh, I love that. That's very IT of you.
Thank you.
Girl.
Root cause analysis, another good drag name.
Root cause analysis. Oh my gosh. It sounds like they write technical manuals.
You'd love it. They definitely also wear like Levi's and like sensible Skechers, and you would totally go out with them, so don't even try it.
Yeah. They wear the like IT or engineer uniform, like the button-down collar, plaid shirts, pocket protector.
You know what you love? This is your Venn diagram.
Tell me.
Men in jeans.
Okay.
Men who think a belt should be worn with jeans.
Oh, yeah, I can get behind that.
You love a man with a belt and jeans on at the same time. And it is...
Listen, don't say it too loud or Monty might hear you.
No. It's also the tractor salesman. It's everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is the Venn diagram of your type. It's right in the middle, jeans and a belt.
I like a prepared man. I like a man who doesn't have to wonder if his pants are going to fall down.
Girl,
he knows they're not.
And that's the dish.
What are your parting thoughts on competition?
Whenever you're focused on someone else, you're actually not focused on yourself. And that's a shame.
Oh, what a missed opportunity for self-development.
And also, if you're a sore loser, don't play me in dominoes, because I will crush you.
Yeah, don't play me in checkers. There's that one game that you shouldn't play. Oh my
God, I got my ass kicked on my honeymoon at checkers. I haven't played in years. Never kicked my ass.
I love checkers.
You'll have to play. You'll have to like give me your strategy. I really suck at it.
Yeah. But if you want a game that you can play with both of us, you should challenge us to a game of Yahtzee, because we both fucking love Yahtzee.
See what I back up there.
Yeah, we do.
All right, girl. I love you. I love us, you all, for watching. Either you're watching now or watching later. We love it every time. We will see you next week on Les Dieux.
Bye.